Hey guys, I want to bring you some breaking news on what's going on with the IRS for this filing season. Coming up here, January 2022, filing our 2021 income tax returns. IRS has just announced that filing season will begin on January 24th. What does that mean? That means that anybody that is electronically filing their tax returns, the e-file system will open on the 24th of January. It also means that if you mail in a tax return, IRS should begin to start processing those tax returns on January 24th. They've also stated that the tax deadline date this year for individuals is going to be on April 18th, that Monday, because April 15th falls on a Friday. In addition to IRS announcing the filing season, they also are putting out a warning that they are going to have a messy tax filing season. IRS is egregiously behind and processing paperwork that they have been sitting on since 2022. IRS announced that they are sitting on more than 20 million tax returns, pieces of mail that they have not processed. I can honestly attest to that because I am still looking for them to respond to correspondence that I've sent in on behalf of my clients. It's delay, delay, delay. You do not get a response from them, but what you will get is IRS continuously sending you letters that you may have responded to, yet they haven't responded to your correspondence regarding those letters. So that's one thing. Massive, massive delays. Why is IRS having massive delays? Because they are being affected just like you and I. IRS has employees working from home. They have employees that are getting ill and they cannot process the paperwork. IRS is also seeing staffing shortages because a lot of older people that are working for IRS, they're retiring out. They're over the chaos. They're done. They are actually retiring. So IRS is extremely, extremely short-staffed. Also, from a technology perspective, you got to remember they're still working in the dark ages where mail is going to their facilities. Someone has to physically go in, open that mail, scan it into their system. Someone has to process it. So they are still working under this old mindset of people physically being in office to deal with correspondence. And that is also causing delays. A lot of the revenue officers, agents that I speak to tell me that they're only going into the office maybe once a week. And if there is some type of COVID outbreak, they're not even allowed to go to the office at least once a week. Some of them have been put to only going to the office once a month. Again, hence the reason for the delays. So there are going to be massive issues going into this filing season. What can you also anticipate? Anticipate them not answering the phones. This is nothing new. This happened for tax filing season 2020, tax filing season 2019. You call IRS and the phones are on hold for hours. I personally have sat on the phone waiting on IRS for over 2 hours only for the phone to be transferred and then for that phone to be hung up on. So you can anticipate there's not going to be people answering the phone. You can anticipate them not responding to your correspondence, and you can anticipate massive, massive delays when it comes to them processing any type of paperwork that is going to go in on behalf of you to deal with IRS. So you have to ask yourself, what are some things that you can do now? And this is where the rubber meets the road. I am going to tell you right now, today, what you need to do to ensure that you don't get caught up in the backlash, the backlog of IRS. Because if you do, it can affect a lot of things. Let me tell you some things that it affected for people in 2021. Individuals that were looking to get home loans, for example, and their tax returns had gone into the system, but their tax returns had not been processed. The lenders could not verify that these individuals actually filed a tax return. So I had clients missing out on getting home loans, or clients having to change the type of loan that they were going to. Therefore, the interest rate was much higher. These are the type of issues that you're going to run into because of delays in dealing with IRS. I also had clients trying to verify their FAFSA forms to get their kids financial aid. That was also an issue because they could not connect to the IRS verification tool because their tax returns had not been processed. So home loan funding was delayed. I had clients that had refinances being delayed. Any verification of a person's tax return trying to be filed was an actual issue. I had clients that needed to verify that they filed a tax return for citizenship purposes, for purposes of adopting children, for purposes of getting their law degrees, anything that required IRS verification. That was a problem. So I just want you to be aware of how this is going to affect you and what the trickle down effect is going to be. So with that being said, let's take some prevention steps to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a slinky. So the very first thing that I want you to do to make sure that you don't find yourself in this situation, you need to go right now and open yourself up an IRS online account. Go to irs.gov, find the link for online account, open yourself up an online IRS account. Why am I telling you to do this? Because with an online IRS account, you can go into that account, you can pull your own transcripts of what you have filed from a tax return perspective. You can verify your own estimated tax payments if you paid estimated tax payments. You can get something that shows U.S. Treasury Department or IRS on that particular piece of paper to verify that you do have an account with IRS and you are a real person and that you do file tax returns. You want to do that now because the filing season hasn't opened, right? So they're not as busy right now. Once filing season opens, things are going to backlog and get delayed. If you can engage with them electronically, you will be in a better position because they will not answer their telephones. Yes, you're going to be limited to how much you can actually get from them electronically, but that's going to be better than not being able to do anything with IRS, and that's going to put you in a better position. So I want you to for sure go set up your IRS online account. That's number one. Number two, I want you to get organized right now. You cannot afford to have a delay in the filing of your income tax return for any reason whatsoever. You got to get organized. What does organization look like in my world? Let me explain it to you. If you are getting your taxes prepared, you need to know exactly how much you have already paid into the system. If you are a client that pays estimated taxes, whether it's IRS or your state revenue department, I want you right now to pull your canceled checks to verify how much money you paid into the system. And I want the front and back of those canceled checks, because on the back of the canceled checks, it shows what tax period IRS applied your payments to. That's very important. You can also pull from IRS a transcript of how much you paid into the system. And if there's anything off, we can try now to try to get those payments applied properly. That's the second thing that I want you to do. That's very, very key, because you do not want your tax return held up because it doesn't match what information IRS has on file. That's one of the biggest issues that we run into as tax professionals, and that you're going to run into as a taxpayer, is that when you file your tax return, your information does not match with what IRS has in the system. So you're filing a return, they have information, and when they put it together, it doesn't match. And then when it doesn't match, that delays the processing of your tax return. So we want everything to sync up perfectly. Number two, if you are an individual that has had any type of identity theft in the past and you get an identity theft pin every single year, you need to make sure that you have it so that we can electronically file your tax return, or you can electronically file your own tax return. But make sure you get that ID pin. Get it now. If you are concerned that someone has stolen your identity, that someone has used your identity, or if you want to protect your identity, apply for an ID pin. That means that when your tax return is filed, just like when you go use your ATM card, you got to have your own pin to put into the system. It's the exact same way. So that verifies you at another level. Make sure you get that handled. Number four, other thing I want you to do, make certain that you know how much income you made. If people have reported you on a 1099, a 1099K, that you know those amounts. You want your income to go in the system properly, because again, that's going to be a mismatch. Another item that is new this year, IRS advanced the child tax credit to individuals in July 2021. They started paying that $3,000 child tax credit. And in some cases, if the kid was 6 and below, $3,600, you were able to get an advance that was automatically being deposited into your bank account. You want to make sure you know how much of an advance you receive, because what you don't want to happen is the tax person calculate that child tax credit fully for you, right? We calculate that $3,000 at $3,600, but technically you've already received a portion of it. That is going to cause a hiccup in your tax return. It's going to delay your tax return, delay your filing. That's something else that's really important. The other thing is that third-party stimulus check. Last year, IRS issued another stimulus check. You should be on the lookout for a letter. Did you get that stimulus check? Those are questions your tax professionals are going to be asking you. And if you can't answer those questions correctly, it's going to further delay the processing of your tax return. You don't want to ever be in a position where you are getting nasty grams, letters from IRS, right? Or even your state revenue department. You prefer they never send you any correspondence. And as a tax professional, trust me, I prefer they not send correspondence either. We want to mitigate as much of that as possible. It is going to be a very, very bumpy road. Tax filing season 2022, to get tax returns for people who earned income in 2021, it's going to be a bumpy road. It's going to be horrible. IRS is not going to answer the phone. They're not going to respond to correspondence. So now's the time to deal with it. The other thing I want to tell you, if you know you're going to owe IRS, if you know you're going to have a balance due, do not delay that. Do not play with that. Let's get that sorted now. Let's start thinking forward as to what the strategy needs to be for you to pay IRS. Why? Because their computer processing system will automatically send you letters, but the people that can stop the letters, stop the garnishments, the people that have the control, they're not going to be available. So that computer processing system will. You want to avoid levies. You want to avoid nasty grams. You want to avoid missing out on getting your homes refinanced, or whatever it is you're trying to do. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Let's make sure that we're on top of it, because we already know what our government is currently dealing with. So this is just some breaking news so that you guys absolutely can be on top of it. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe. And I can't wait to see you on my next video.